Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today to today's web seminar, walkthrough and Q&A on the new Bank on Chicago mini grant program. It's co-hosted today by the Illinois Asset Building Group, IABG, and the City of Chicago Treasurer's Office. IABG is a statewide coalition committed to increasing access to the tools people need to build financially secure futures for themselves and for their families. So IABG is a member of the Bank on Chicago Steering Committee, and we serve to represent the needs of community partners and the people that they serve. We hope by the end of this hour that everyone attending this webinar will have a better understanding of the new mini grant program that community organizations not yet a Bank on Chicago partner will be interested in joining, and that this mini grant program will be utilized effectively by all community partners to increase access to safe financial products, and more Bank on Chicago checking accounts will be opened as a result. Let me go back to the housekeeping. So to take care of housekeeping matters at the start, I would just like to let all of you know that everyone except for current presenters will be placed on mute to make sure that there's going to be clear audio today for everyone on the call. If in case that you might become accidentally unmuted, please do not put this call on hold so that the holding sound will not bother the rest of the group. You can use the chat tool at the bottom of your GoToWebinar menu to ask me or Matthew questions as we go through the webinar. Make sure that you select Organizer at the bottom before asking your question. You should also use the chat feature if you have any problems or difficulties with the GoToWebinar platform, can't hear the presenters or see the presentations, please message me and I'll troubleshoot the situation. If at some point in time, especially during the Q&A session, that you'd like to say something, please select the raise your hand function, and that'll help us to be able to determine who should be speaking next. So I will do my best to answer the questions as they come in, but we will also have a question and answer period at the end of the seminar where some of your questions will be addressed. We have a person at our end who will be collecting your questions for that end time. To intercept what is a usually popular question ahead of time, we will be posting a video recording of today's webinar on the IABG website, and you'll be receiving a post-webinar email roughly 24 hours after the webinar with that web address. So, to give you a brief outline of the web seminar's agenda, there will be two presenters. I'm Ethan Brown, Program Associate at IABG and Heartland Alliance, and the other presenter is Matthew Peterson, Economic Development Intern at the City of Chicago Treasurer's Office. To begin with, Matthew will describe Bank on Chicago project for all attendees that may not be familiar with the project. He'll then briefly go into the lessons learned from the first year of the project and why the mini grant concept really makes sense as a way of increasing the number of bank accounts opened and how it can support our community partners. He will then describe the purpose of the Bank on Chicago mini grant program, and I will then go into the details of which type of events are eligible and the overall mini grant process. We'll then wrap up, go over the mini grant document itself, and answer your questions to the best of our abilities. So Matthew is going to take over now and describe Bank on Chicago.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Before we start, I want to say I appreciate everybody carving out a little bit of time this afternoon to join us. And a special big thanks to Lucy and Ethan. Ethan really did a yeoman's job on this, so we appreciate that he not only organized this, but also put together the presentation you're viewing now. So thank you very much, Ethan. So I'm going to start with a little bit of background for Bank on Chicago, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, and then we'll progress from there, and hopefully we'll get some questions and things at the end that we'll be willing to answer. So to begin with, the Bank on Chicago program was adapted from a national program, Bank On, and it really started in San Francisco in, I think, 2006 or 2007. And the treasurer heard about it and thought it would work well in Chicago, so we brought it here. And we rolled it out in fall 2011. The idea was to give unbanked and underbanked individuals access to mainstream financial services. By unbanked, we mean individuals that are lacking a checking or savings account, and by underbanked, we mean people that may have at least one of these, a checking or savings account, but still utilize alternative financial services like check cashing, payday loans, non-bank money orders, or non-bank remittances. So the program, the Bank on Chicago program, was a cooperation between the Treasurer's Office, community partners and financial partners. By community partners, I mean service agencies, people like IABG and YWCA and a host of other people, North Lawndale Employment Network, and then a lot of financial partners like Chase and Citi and Southside Federal Credit Union, and all these people kind of came together to establish easy to access checking accounts for these unbanked and underbanked individuals. Bank on Chicago is designed to create opportunities for first-time account holders to open checking accounts at local branches. It's really meant to target those specific people too. I think you probably all know that there hasn't been, in some of the communities here in Chicago, there's a real paucity of services for mainstream financial, and a lot of the people have to turn to alternative financial services. Alternative financial services, they're what we want to get people away from here. You can see in this little graph we have here. This is from the recent FDIC survey, and so you can see that the minorities, when it comes to being banked, disproportionately affected. And actually, if you stretch this definition to include underbanked people, something like 28% of U.S. households are underbanked or unbanked, which is actually going up, which is not good. More than half of all the unbanked households say they do not have an account because they believe they do not have enough money or that they do not want or need an account. Of these, 1/4 households have used at least one alternative financial service. And this is something we're probably all familiar with, that a lot of these underbanked people, not only are there no services in their neighborhood that they don't have access to them, but they're also they don't realize the benefit of having mainstream financial access, or they have a fear of banking services. They think that, I don't know, that somebody's out to get them or whatever it may be. So, Bank on Chicago is there to try to reverse that calculus and to tell people, all people, everybody in Chicago should have access to safe financial services, and we're out there trying to make that happen. And the reason we think that people should have access is because having a bank account, checking account, or savings account, it's safer. There's studies that show crime goes up around check cashing services. It gives you a way to save your money, a legitimate way to save money that's not just under your mattress. It helps you build credit. It allows people to kind of gain that financial education so they can make smart choices, and it helps lower the cost of everyday banking. Using payday lending and people like that, it's very expensive. Even money orders are very expensive, and we'd rather get people into safe mainstream financial services. The account criteria that we worked out with the banks originally was that they'd have low or no monthly fee accounts, accept alternative IDs, offer a pathway off check systems, have no minimum monthly balance, and free check cashing services. And this is all on our website, and it's detailed a little bit on the application form as well. You guys will see here at the end. But this was something that some of the banks offered. This is something that some of the banks negotiated. But I think they all realized that it was not only in their best interest to reach out to some of these people, but that that with this product available, people would utilize it. And the more I get out in the community, the more I talk to people, the more I hear success stories about people getting their first accounts, or like I was in Evanston the other day, and I was talking to somebody, and they said that the fact that one of the bank that they sent a client to offered an alternative ID. They just were stunned. This client just couldn't believe it and was so happy to not only be accepted, but to open her first account. So we're doing really good work out there in the community, guys. And this mini grant is designed to help us continue to make these things, to make this project even better, make this Bank on Chicago project even better. With our community partners. I can go into the community, or a bank representative can go into the community, but we may not be as familiar a face as sorry, Sequester, I keep picking on you, but like as the YWCA might be. I think a lot of our community partners have earned a lot of trust in their community. And you know, we want to, probably our best asset as a program is our presence in the community through our community partners, and we want to optimize that. Now, when we first launched, we spent a lot of money on kind of a meta advertising campaign, and it was probably necessary. But I think one thing we're looking for now is to utilize our community partners in the grassroots advertisement, grassroots development, the best way possible, and we really want to support them to not only get the message out to the community, but also to help build relationships in the community. And one of these relationships we're really concerned about with the mini grant is building a relationship between local bankers and community agencies, service agencies, right? And we know that's been one of the problems thus far in the first year, getting the message out, which is not everybody understands what exactly the product is. So if somebody goes into a bank and they ask for the Bank On product, maybe that product doesn't always get delivered, and the person at the bank and the client who's coming in, they're speaking the same language except they're using one different word, right? So instead of trying to, you know, to try to make sure that we get the product delivered the first time, what we want to do is use this mini grant to encourage the relationships between the local agencies and the local bank branches. And that way, when somebody has a client who needs to get banked and who wants to get off check systems and wants to get in on the Bank On program, those community agencies can say, okay, call, you know, Frank at this local branch and he'll take care of you. And so that's the kind of sustainability and what we want to move towards. And I just want to point out that the project is not completely self-derived. They've done this in San Francisco and had some success with it. And there's also some other evidence, specifically the New America Foundation, that says this is a good way to not only build those relationships, but to help advertise the product and get people more involved. So moving on to the mini grant purpose. The idea will be that Bank On Chicago will be sponsoring community events, right? Community outreach events, career fairs, resource fairs, financial education fairs. You know, it can be a variety of different events. But the idea is to raise awareness of the product, both with potential clients and with bank branch clerks. And this goes back to what I was saying just a moment ago. Instead of you know, at a top level trying to get this information to filter down to all the new clerks and all the new social workers and all this kind of stuff, well, we're just going to go to the source. We're going to go to the streets and try to get those relationships to kind of work. People can work together more organically, and you know, ideally this will be so sustainable that you know, the treasurer's office, whoever, won't have to even have that much of a role, because you know, the person that serves agency can call the bank, and then they'll just have this great relationship, and they can utilize that for other things as well. And then also this last point here, expand the program by recruiting new partners and reaching more communities. First off, thank you everybody, because we did really well on our first year. We had over 5,000 new accounts opened, and we have pretty good reason to believe that that's actually a little bit that's undersold. We would think it may be quite a bit more than 5,000, but 5,000 nonetheless, and that's pretty amazing. And now we don't have new numbers yet. We're excited to see those that will be coming out soon, hopefully. But you know, we think this is a good time to kind of move forward, move the program forward, and just not kind of rest on our laurels. So we want to kind of get some new partners involved. We want to get into some new areas. We know there's a lot of areas in need in Chicago, and also, you know, continue to build support in the areas that we're already in. So this mini grant is designed to kind of to overcome all those or to achieve all those goals.
Thank you, Matthew. I think the mini grant programs, it's a really great concept, and part of the reason why I think it makes so much sense is that, you know, if someone just hears about Bank On Chicago through some sort of advertisement, they know about the idea of Bank On, but if they hear about it through one of these outreach events and they've received some form of financial literacy or money matters, understanding how to make your money work better for you, money management. So I think that's a benefit that is tangible. So now that you know about why we have this new mini grant program and how it should benefit both the unbanked in Chicago but also the community organizations that serve them, I expect you would like to hear about how it actually works. So mini grants are available for outreach events held by Bank On Chicago community partners. We are actively looking to expand the list of community partners in Chicago, and it is quite easy to become one. These outreach events must have a few key components, however. The first of which is that it must be free to attend. The second of which is that the event cannot have happened like a year ago or so. It's got to be sort of a relevant event. It's got to be new or in between deadlines that are the application deadlines. So it's got to be something that's actually occurring now. However, we will go into detail later on about the mechanics of when you can apply for grants and how the deadlines are, when the deadlines are, how long you have to wait until you receive word back on whether or not your grant was accepted. But we'll be going into detail about that later on. Now, these events can take many different forms. The most obvious and probably the most common form is an event where financial education is offered. However, this is by no means the only type of event. I think it's easiest to understand which types of events are eligible by asking yourself the questions: is this event about financial awareness in some form? Does it make sense to promote Bank On Chicago at this event? Is it likely that a large portion of the event attendees will be un- or underbanked? And will it make sense to have representatives from banks participating in the Bank On Chicago project, the financial partners? Does it make sense to have them there? So it's quite a few questions, so I will dive a bit deeper into each. The first two is the event about financial awareness in some form, and does it make sense to promote Bank On Chicago at this event, are connected. Eligible events must be connected to financial awareness in some form, whether it's through traditional financial education, possibly warning of predatory financial products offered in your area, or outreach to open up, let's say, children's savings accounts in your local area. Now, these are all event types that make sense because it's about reaching out to those in your community to help them safely manage their money. A key aspect of mini grant eligibility are who these events are going to be targeting. Through Matthew's analysis from the first year of the Bank On Chicago project, many zip codes were identified as having demographics similar to those that are traditionally of higher unbanked populations. And yet very few people in these communities were listed as having become banked in the Bank On Chicago project. We saw this as a gap that we would like to address, and that's why they've become targeted zip codes. So these targeted zip codes, these are our targeted zip codes, and events held in these zip codes or in neighboring zip codes, because we understand that a community is an entirely different geographical scope than what a zip code is. But we don't necessarily care as much about whether or not, well, we do care if an event's held in a targeted zip code, but we also care about whether or not people from those targeted zip codes are going to be at the events. So, events that are being held in targeted zip codes or where people from targeted zip codes are going to be there, those events are encouraged to apply. We will also be expanding the zip code map to many communities that share almost identical demographics as the target zip codes, and yet have not been identified as such. As seen from the FDIC data, that chart that was seen before, the communities of where you have large sections of low-income, potentially African-American or Hispanic communities, these are the communities that we're trying to alleviate the unbanked problem the most by targeting our outreach in these areas. Lastly, this mini-grant program has another big objective beyond increasing the numbers of those opening up checking accounts for the first time. We hope that the mini-grant program will increase the communication among our community partners and with the financial partners. As any grant funding program, we want as much bang for our buck. Outreach events where two community partners or a community partner and a faith-based organization, or two community partners and a community organization that's not currently a community partner, when they come together to reach out to their own communities and increase event turnout and efficacy of the event, because more groups are believing it because they're from a trusted source. They hear about Bank On Chicago from a trusted source. This is something that we truly value in Bank On. Many of the community partners listening right now are located in different parts of the city. If you have a financial education event that you would like to provide financial coaches or content, but aren't located in a target zip code or in a target zip code that hasn't gotten really any outreach so far, then, by all means, we encourage that you partner with other organizations that have presence in those zip codes. We hope that this mini grant program will provide incentive for these for organizations to partner with one another so that we can expand the overall outreach of geographical and community-wide. Similarly, we want this to be a great opportunity for new connections between financial and community partners to be formed. The Bank on Chicago project only works as long as both people needing the accounts and the local bank representatives both know about the Bank on Chicago project and the checking accounts that meet the Bank on Chicago requirements for financial safety. Mini-grant eligible events must attempt to coordinate with financial partners to have bank representatives present. To manage the problem that I've heard from several community organizations, local bank reps in their areas may not know about the Bank on Chicago product. Now, I'll be available at your disposal to act as a mediator, as in if you are in an area and you're holding an event and would like to have representatives from our financial partners to attend it, please contact me. I'm Ethan Brown. My email address is right there. I will contact the CRA representative for all the financial partners to see if they can send their representatives to your event. I also want to make it clear that events which make a good faith effort to coordinate with financial partners to have representatives present, but may not actually end up getting any representatives present just because of scheduling or logistics or what have you, they will not be penalized and will still be applicable for a mini grant as long as they make an effort to try and get banks on board. So again, please contact me if you would like help reaching out to financial partners to get local bank reps at your event. And now I'll hand off the webinar back to Matthew, who will describe how the mini grant process works.
Okay, so the people can apply who are currently Bank on Chicago community partners. I know there's quite a few of you on the line right now who are, and thank you for everything you've done the past year and a half. So we want you to be a community partner. But if you're not a community partner, or you know somebody who might benefit, they can become a community partner pretty easily. They just have to get a hold of Ethan via email, and he can help them start that process of becoming community members. I want to underscore this point, which is we encourage everybody to apply. We want this to be successful. We want people to apply to take advantage of this service, and therefore we encourage new partners to apply. And even if you're unsure, if this is going to be good for your event or not, or what it may entail, just please get a hold of us. The application itself is simple. It's meant to be simple, but we welcome any questions that people may have, or any new partners who may want to get involved in this project. We really want this to work, and we want people to take advantage of it. As I mentioned, along with the announcement of the mini grant itself, there's an application page available, and it kind of describes some of the things I'm going to talk about now. Requests can be up to $500 per person. Of course, you can apply for less, but that we're going to cap it at $500 for now. I need to say that that we have to have some discretionary control of these funds. If there's a lot of applications early on in the year, which frankly, we hope there will be. Once we start to run out of money, then we'll have to maybe not give out as much or not accept applications. But as of right now, the limit's 500. Please fill out your application, send them in, and we will review them. We're going to review the applications. There's a timeline on the following page that tells you when the applications are due. We're going to review those, and we're going to disperse the funds every 8 weeks. United Way will be helping us with that. And then after the event is done, we just ask for you to submit some information. We want to talk about the impact of the event, who's it going to impact, what it accomplished, what lessons you learned, We want you to talk about how this relates to financial literacy and how it's going to promote the bank on. Of course, to reinforce what Ethan said, how you're going to incorporate local financial institutions or financial coaches, things like that in the event. And also, budget, we're going to need a budget. And if anybody can provide quantitative data, that would be excellent, especially, just at least a number of people that attended the event. Anything more would be greatly appreciated, but I understand it's hard to gather that kind of data. But really, so with the exception of maybe number of people there, anything qualitative would be appreciated as well. We'll put this in a big database and see what we can't learn from this process. Yeah, again, please take advantage of this, and both Ethan and I are here to help you in this process. Again, it's simple. You'll see here in just a moment when we go to the application. So here it is right here. So we're not asking for much, bare bones, again, because we want this to be simple. We want people to apply for it. We don't want it to be intimidating. And we think it's going to work out really, really well. If there's any problems, in the process or at an event, let us know. This is the first year we're doing this, so we'll adjust accordingly, and we hope people take advantage of it. And I think that brings us pretty close to the end. I just want to point out a couple of things here before we take questions. So for those of you that were there at the last quarterly meeting, that was kind of the genesis of this idea, and we had talked about it there. And so it's finally coming together. We faced a couple fits and starts along the way, but we're really happy to be launching this now. This has been kind of an ongoing process, and thank you everybody for your patience and the feedback you've given us. I wrote a lot of people and asked them if they had feedback before we launched this thing, and for all of you who provided that was very, very helpful. So this is the end result of what we were talking about in the fall. Right. Okay. So, anyways, and I want to point out, or I want to bring one thing up real quick before we go to questions. Just as an aside, there is an event at Olive Harvey Community College coming up on the 25th of February. I've written almost all of you about it. Well, at least all of you whose email address I had. Those who I didn't, I will send it out, resend it to you. Thank you for people that have responded and committed to send representatives to it. I think it's going to be really good. We're still looking. We've still got a couple of chairs available. I've got a flyer now, so I'm going to resend that to everybody. But it's a financial resource fair event, and it's being co-sponsored by both the Olive Harvey Community College and the Treasurer's Office, well, at least under the auspice of Bank on Chicago. And we think it's going to be really, really good. So for those of you who may want to get involved, who haven't written me already, look for that email. I'll send it back out, and we encourage everybody to come down. It's free. It's only 4 hours. It's 10 to 2 on the 25th of September, or 25th of February, excuse me. So that's one thing coming up on the horizon just to be aware of, and that's open to anybody who wants to participate. So it'd be a good chance to kind of interact with some college students, and there'll be a couple workshops that'll be very, very interesting. So look for more information about that in the future. But with that being said, I'm going to turn this over to Ethan.
Thanks, Matthew. Really great description of how the process works. So I just got a question from Otis Monroe. He was wondering what the role of the United Way is in the process, in the progress of it.
Well, the United Way, they hold the funds and they do the like the data reporting and stuff for us. So basically, the Treasurer's Office, or at least Bank on Chicago, and IABG will receive the grant applications, and then once we approve them, then we have to send them to United Way. United Way have to release the funds. So they're kind of tangentially involved, but they do play an important role in this. So
yeah. And that's part of the reason why we ended up ending up with this 8-week deadline time frame in between deadlines, because it is kind of difficult to actually disperse these funds, release them all the time. That's why we can't do it possibly as quickly as we want to, but it's it's an administrative burden that should not be posing any problems based on how we have designed the actual application process. So I have another question here. They're wondering how complete their application should be when they send it in. As in, if I'm just going to go straight over to the application itself. It's really simple. It's just 3 pages, 2 pages that explain the mini grant itself, and then the 1-page application. And this application is available on the IBG website, and I believe it's either currently available or will be available on the Bank on Chicago website. And it was in the link to everyone who registered, I believe. But in any case, they're wondering, like, how complete does it need to be? Does it need to be? Do you need to know the location ahead of time? What if you have 2 or 3 possible locations you're looking at?
Well, I think when we obviously we would like a fully complete application, that would be best. But if you want some input and say, well, how does this look so far? Feel free to send that to us. We can work with you. We understand that things change, events change, venues change, and that things may not be completely set in stone. I think that's something we can work around. That's fine. But just keep in mind that if you have if we approve the application and it's for what is it, $300 or something, and then all of a sudden your venue changes, the disbursement will remain the same, right? And that's fine. But I'm just for fair warning in case the new place you're going to have the event, it all of a sudden costs money. So that's something to keep in mind as you're budgeting for the event. But I think that we understand that venue spaces can be fickle and sometimes it's hard to pin something down. So we're willing to work with you on that. Not a big deal, I don't think, as long as we do get a final application received at some point, which I'm sure you'll know the event 2 weeks before, and we can just finish everything up and send it in.
Makes sense. So just to be clear, if anyone has any questions, feel free just to click the raise my hand, and I can unmute you, and you can just ask us directly it. And you'll probably be able to make a lot more sense than if I have to, if you put it into chat form. So I actually have another question here. So can partners use existing partners and apply for media outreach for already scheduled outreach events? As far as I know, I would say it would depend upon when these outreach events are scheduled. As in, if it was scheduled and occurred in December, not so much. But if it's something that's you've already created an event and it's in the future, and let's say it's February or March or next week or something like that, and you've already scheduled it, but you think it might be applicable for this, then by all means apply. I mean, this is actually, we expect that a lot of organizations have events that are applicable that they don't need to, design with Bank on Chicago in mind before they create it. Am I right on that, or do you want to clarify at all?
I think that's pretty accurate, and I would just say, as far as money for outreach, I mean, I don't think that's going to be a problem, but, as you're putting the application together, just get a hold of one of us, either me or Ethan, and kind of, maybe go into a little more detail, and we can look it over. But I don't think it's going to be an issue, but, we can talk about that via email and make sure that everything's fine. But please, I still, any kinds of questions like this, apply and bring the questions up, and we'll work on this together and figure out a solution.
I just got a good question from Ben Lau. He wants to know where you can get a copy of the presentation and the forms. I'll be sending out emails tomorrow to everyone who's on the call right now. And it'll give a link to a video recording of this presentation, a link to the Prezi presentation itself. This is the presentation software platform that we're using right now. And it'll also have a link to for a downloadable copy PDF of the mini grant form, this thing that we're looking at right now, and the 2 pages that preceded it, which sort of explain, which events are eligible, who should be applying, and the whole concept of the mini grant itself. Beyond that, we got a question earlier today, actually before the webinar, that just seemed like a really good one. And it was, what if a community partner has multiple grants in the future? Let's say they've got, multiple events in the future. Let's say they've got an event that's going to be held early March, and then one in June. That's, let's say, an annual event that they hold that they know it'll be useful as a Bank on Chicago event. And then maybe one in July. So they've got 3 events in the future, and they'd like to make sure that they've got funds, that can go towards that now, to make sure that they have everything locked up and can plan it effectively. How would Bank on Chicago address that? How would the application process address that?
Good. Well, that is a good question, and this kind of brings me back to something we were talking about earlier, which is that the funding for the program is limited, and so I think we're going to do the applications on a rolling basis, so that if we have a lot of input on this, a lot of people applying for it, that way we can do it on a rolling basis. We can kind of help manage the disbursement a little more evenly. I think one thing we're really concerned about is making sure that these events occur all over the city with all different groups, and so we encourage you to apply in advance. But just remember that the financial parameters may limit us in the future. So in that sense, we'll do it on a rolling basis, and hopefully that'll work out well. Again, bear with us, being the first time we're rolling this out. If there's something that we need to change halfway through, of course we'll let everybody know about that. But we reserve that right to do that. But we're not expecting a whole lot of issues. I think this is something that even if something comes up, we can deal with it on the fly, and I don't hopefully it won't be anything that disqualifies anybody's application. So.
Yeah, I know that Matthew's already said this before, but this is really a tool for the community partners. We're not trying to stand as some sort of gatekeepers or any sort of way. Like, we're trying to make sure that the event that you're putting on makes sense for Bank on Chicago to be a part of. We want Bank on Chicago to be a part of the event, and we obviously want more people to be banked. So in any event that you think is going to be applicable, even a little bit, how about applicable in general, feel free to contact us and make sure that we know about it and we can help you with the application process.
Absolutely. We encourage everybody to apply for any event that they think is relevant, and we can work out we can work out the details together on the application. So please just again encourage you, or if you know other organizations who aren't current partners, to apply. Okay, I've got another question here. Can a Bank on Chicago partner collaborate with a non-Bank on Chicago bank for outreach events and promote a Bank on Chicago event with this funding? Some non-Bank of Chicago banks have better products than those that have signed on to the program. We want to keep this limited to our Bank on Financial partners. We think that a lot of them have good products that are equivalent to anything else out there, and they're an important part of this community. And so we would like our community partners to work with the current financial partners. Of course, we have quite a few financial partners. I mean that's all on the website, and so we would prefer it if it was in partnership with the current Bank on Financial partners.
Yeah, and part of the reason why we're doing this webinar right now is to get all of these questions out into the open, because as we realize as we've been putting together this mini grant program, is that there are so many more questions than we would expect. So part of the reason why we're doing this is so that we're going to create an FAQ, frequently asked questions document, for the Bank on Chicago's community partners so that they can look into it and find out, someone else has answered this question. So these questions right now, we are going to be looking in depth and making sure that not just the answers that we're giving right now, but that like the final answers, because we're still, this is an ongoing project. We're, it's happening on a rolling basis, and we want to make sure that all of our answers are going to be, how it's going to be. So, so one thing that I want to address, just to make sure, because I got a question about this, I had said it before in the presentation, but the real question is, what if you hold an event? Like one of the big parts about this mini grant program is that we do want financial partners to be on board at these events. But what happens if a community partner contacts, several financial partners? I contact them, and it just ends up not happening. Either, they said they can make it and they don't, or they, say that they can't make it because of scheduling conflicts, but no financial partner shows up. Well, in that case, I'm pretty sure that it's okay because you made a good faith effort to get that financial partner out there, because we are trying to make sure that the financial partners are involved, so that it's not just so that the participants at these events can see who are the financial partners that offer Bank on Chicago products, but it's also an educational event for the financial partners themselves, for the local bank reps, so that the next time someone who just heard about Bank on Chicago from word of mouth of someone who went to a Bank on Chicago event, they go to one of these bank locations. When they say, I want to open up a Bank on Chicago checking account, the local rep there now knows what they mean and then opens up the right amount, the right account. They can get the waived monthly fee that some of the banks do say that they'll waive for Bank on Chicago checking accounts, but may not waive for a normal checking account with the same name. So these are, it's not just for the community partners, it's also for an educational event for the financial partners.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I think that there's probably, given the number of financial partners we have, and multiply that by 10 for the number of branches, the communities, I'm pretty sure we can find somebody who's going to want to participate. And through your efforts and my efforts and Ethan's efforts, I'm sure that won't be too much of an issue. But if it is, we'll deal with it when it comes up.
Sure. So if any, let me see, does anyone else have any questions? Would you like to raise your hand and describe any questions that you have about Bank on Chicago mini grant project? Okay, one question that someone just posed is, what happens if between deadlines, if I all of a sudden, something happens in my community and I want to put together a really fast event, like, as you can see, the deadlines are February 18th, April 15th. Well, what if it's February, 30th? And I hear about something going on in my community. I want to hold a financial education event because a local church just told me that I can hold it in their basement, so I've got this nice venue, and we need to hold it in March, and that's between the two events. Can I apply for a grant for fund? Can I apply for a grant after the actual event happens?
You mean like apply in retrospect?
Yes.
Not sure. Something we'll have to think about. I think what we want to try to avoid is somebody who did an event last year, as Ethan alluded to earlier, applying for it. It may be something we look at on a case-by-case basis. What I would encourage is that if that situation does occur, to go ahead and apply and get a hold of Ethan or I, and we can consider the specifics as those come up. And we understand that that does happen, and that's fine. But I think we'll leave that for a case-to-case basis kind of thing. One thing we want to make sure is that the money is being used effectively. And I mean, if it's something that you have to do tomorrow, we wonder how many people would be able to how many people you'd be able to reach with that event. But then again, maybe it's quite a few, and in that case, it might be okay. So if something like that happens, just get a hold of us. We'll go ahead and put the application together and send it in, and we can talk about it as it comes in.
Mm-hmm. One thing that we do want to make clear is that there are a lot of zip codes that aren't currently listed as Bank on Chicago zip codes or target zip codes that have, if not large percentages of people who are underbanked in the communities. They may have a pocket of like a small neighborhood within a larger community that has a significant portion are underbanked. So if you are from one of these areas, like let's say you're in an area that half of your community is fairly well off, the other half may not be as well off, it may not trust or want to be part of mainstream financial institutions, don't feel as if not being in a quote-unquote target community does not make you eligible for these events. We want, those are areas that we definitely encourage to apply, but if you can show that there's, an unbanked population in that area that needs outreach, that deserves outreach to the Bank on Chicago project, then, apply and we'll talk with you and hopefully make it a great event.
Right, and the same thing applies, for people who currently aren't community partners. Just because you're not a current community partner doesn't mean we don't want you to be. We definitely do. It's easy to do, and then once you do that, we would like you to come on board and apply for the grant.
Yeah. So, and as in one of my early points in presentation, I think I probably kind of stumbled over a little bit, but a lot of people who are underbanked may live in target communities but work in areas that aren't listed as a target zip code. But that doesn't mean that these areas, that if you hold an event in an area where you're able to get people who go to this area for work, able to get them involved at this one of these Bank on Chicago events, this is an event that would qualify. This is an event that we're interested in making sure it gets a Bank on Chicago grant.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So I'm going to do one last call for questions. If not, we're going to be able to let you go early. So just click the raise your hand or send me a chat or question box. And I'll give you a few seconds or so, and then otherwise we're going to be closing up shop.
Right. And if there's any other follow-up afterwards, just let us know. As we've said many times, we're here to help you with this, and we want everybody to apply, and we want to get this thing rolling.
Okay. Well, it looks like we are going to be wrapping up the question and answer session. Thank you so much for attending this webinar today. I hope everyone understands the new Bank on Chicago mini grant program, how it works, which events are eligible, and if you aren't a community partner yet, how to become one. Basically, you just contact me, and I'll you'll become one very quickly and very easily. Tomorrow, you'll all be receiving an email thanking you for attending this webinar, and will also contain a link to an IABG website where a video recording of the web seminar will be available sometime next week, and the Bank on Chicago website where you'll be able to find it as well. Today was the second of IABG's 2013 webinar series where we will be addressing a host of topics important to the asset building movement. So keep an eye out for upcoming webinars. Additionally, we would love any feedback on today's webinar and would really appreciate it. If you could fill out a quick questionnaire after this is done. And it'll really help us with future webinars, and we appreciate it. I would also like to invite everyone to join the IABG Coalition if you're interested in everyone having access to the tools they need to become financially secure. Coalition members receive our e-communications, including monthly newsletter and emails about learning opportunities like this one, in addition to other topics. To join the Coalition or to learn more about the IABG and the issues and policies that we care about, please feel free to contact me at ebrown@heartlandalliance.org. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great afternoon.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.